Rifle holds, 20 MOA mounts, and bolt slop this week on Mail Call Mondays. Mail Call Mondays is sponsored by Modular Driven Technologies. If you need a chassis system for your precision rifle, check out mdttac.com. I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is your Christmas edition of Mail Call Mondays. We are actually filming this on Christmas Eve, and this episode should publish on Christmas Day. So those of you guys that are sick of the Christmas music and all the carols can slide into your internet world and take a look at our Mail Call Mondays episode. At least that's the plan. We'll see how that works. Our first question this Monday comes from Patreon, and Landon asks, I'm working on building up a 224 Valkyrie to have it ready for a barrel when they become available. The scope I'm planning on putting on it has 120 MOA of internal adjustment. Ballistic calculations, i.e. JBM, say that at 1,300 yards to expect around 53 to 55 MOA of drop. Technically, that's within the scope's range. However, is there a benefit to adding a 20 MOA base to keep it a little further away from the scope's physical limits? Any increase in clarity, turret accuracy, etc. to stay a little more centered in the lenses. It's a SWFA fixed 16 power. If so, could you recommend a one-piece 30mm mount with 20 MOA built in that is in the $200 ballpark? All I've been able to find is one from LaRue. Thanks. Well, Landon, it looks like you've really done your homework, and good job there. I definitely recommend that anytime that you can get a 100-yard zero with a 20 MOA mount, that you go ahead and use that 20 MOA mount if long range is your eventual goal. And the reason why is exactly what you've hit on here, and it's even more important with lower price point scopes, is that where you need that precision the most and where you need that clarity the most, engaging those long range targets, the scope will be closer to the optical center with a 20 MOA mount than it would be with a 0 MOA mount. And while this may not have any effect on your tracking accuracy, it will put you through the sweet spot in the lenses. Even high dollar lenses, camera lenses, etc. start to experience more distortion around the edges than they do right in the middle. So trying to keep that scope optically centered is really where you want it. So your next question on the price point, I did a real quick internet search. I went over to Euro Optic and just plugged in what you were looking for, 30 MOA tube, $200 price point, and what jumped out to me right away is Seekins has a 30mm 20 MOA cantilevered mount that looks to be spot on for what you need. Since 224 is a standard size AR, you're working with a little bit of a shorter upper receiver, so that cantilevered mount will give you a little bit more variation on where you can put that optic to get optimal eye relief. The 20 MOA we just discussed, and it is Seekins Precision, so they do absolutely fantastic, top-notch work, and that's a great price point for that mount. Our next question comes from Jason, and Jason asks, John, I'm very new to the long-range game, so this may seem like a very basic question. How tightly do you seat the butt of the rifle into your shoulder, i.e. crammed in, lightly snugged, or pretty loosely seated? What's better for recoil mitigation? Reference to my first 308. Thanks for all you do for the shooting community, and Merry Christmas. Well, Jason, Merry Christmas to you. The next question we have kind of is dovetailed right into this one, and that comes from Harley, and he says, the importance of recoil management and proper body alignment behind the rifle. Forgive me and ignore this if it has already been addressed. Thanks for all you do for the shooting community, and Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you as well, Harley. I'm going to go ahead and post a link. It'll probably be somewhere up here, or it'll be down in the description below, to the first and so far only video in our skills series, and it's about getting behind the rifle, getting your body properly aligned behind it, and in that I talk about the pressure of the butt pad in the shoulder when you're shooting from the prone position. And basically what we're looking for is I am just resting my body against the butt pad. So when we have a rifle like this, the goal is to get my shoulder up against the butt pad with the rifle at a bit of an incline, and then I just relax down behind the rifle. And if you think about when you push things together in kind of a steeple shape here, with some space underneath, like your rifle and the body, and then you relax down, well, if the bipod is the fixed point at the front of the rifle and your feet or the lower portion of your body are the fixed point at the rear, when you push down, that's naturally going to push together at that apex right there. And that's where the buttstock meets the pocket of your shoulder. So you just relax down and the bipod is loading the rifle into your shoulder, and the weight of your upper body is loading into the butt pad against the bipod. And that takes all the slack out of the system. And for me, I find that is the best way to load the bipod and be totally relaxed on the rifle. I'm not rolling forward. I'm not rolling my shoulders into it. I'm not pushing with my toes or any of that nonsense. I'm just relaxing behind the rifle, and that naturally places my weight loaded against the buttstock of the rifle. Now, depending upon the bipod that you have, you may experience where the feet will roll forward a little bit. That's fine. You have still preloaded the system. You just preloaded the system to the extent that it was able to hold the weight. Now, if you roll your shoulders forward and that bipod rolls forward, now you've unloaded the system, and when you relax, you'll load the rifle backwards and kind of upset the whole system. So you want to make sure that you just relax into it, get set, and you're ready to go. Now, when we switch up to barricades or improvised positions or that kind of thing, we change things a little bit. If I'm in a really, really stable position, then I have just enough pressure against the butt pad to resist the recoil of the rifle, because I don't want the rifle flying out of my shoulder. I want to be able to observe my impacts. If it is something like a bipod or a wall that's really anchored in and I have to use a fairly high standing position, I will load that rifle into the barricade very aggressively. So I'll get that buttstock in the pocket and I will drive the rifle into the barricade as long as I have something to hook it on, either a barricade stop or the bipod legs deployed down. Now, when I do that, I will go with a really wide stance, so my feet are wide apart, and it kind of makes a tripod type setup to where the rifle is one leg of the tripod and my feet are the other two legs of the tripod. And I find that that gives me a pretty good balance. That gives me really good stability, and I'm able to really drive it in, and that resists recoil very well. So when the rifle recoils, I'm generally staying right on target, even if I'm shooting a larger rifle like the 300 Win Mag here. So overall, that works really well for me, but it's kind of a trial and error thing. And when we're talking about barricade shooting or obstacles or improvised shooting positions, each one has its own little specific pros and cons. That's why it's really important for field shooting that you get out and shoot from a lot of different barricades and a lot of different positions, because you will start to feel certain similarities between them, and when your body gets in, it will just drop into that position and you'll be ready to go. I kind of have been slacking off here lately because it's really important to shoot different barricades, not going out to the range and getting into the same rut and doing the same thing every single time you go out to the range. So try to switch things up, experiment with different positions. As long as you are keeping the muzzle downrange, then try different things. Try heavy pressure, try light pressure. I know free recoil has been a big thing here lately, where if a guy can get a good balance on the rifle using something like a game changer bag, where it turns a narrow barricade into a wider support, then guys are going with a lighter pressure. But I'm still kind of old school, and I'll drive the rifle pretty hard, pretty aggressively, unless I'm really sure that I can get a good balance point and the rifle's not going to be upset pretty significantly when I fire the shot. So take a look at our video. Even if you guys have been shooting prone for a long time and you think you already know it, take a look at it. There may be some tricks in there that may help you out. Our last question comes from Chris, and Chris says, I have a Remington 700 and the bolt has some slop in it when it's at its rearmost point. I've seen some custom rifles where it's smooth as glass through the entire range of motion and is completely contained, not allowing any play in the 360-degree plane. Just super smooth in and out. Is there a way to do the same for the Remington's action/bolt? Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas, Chris. And what Chris is talking about here is on the 700 long range that we have here. If I bring the bolt totally back to the rear, you can see that it wiggles pretty good. And even if I come forward, I'm going to drop the mag here. Even if I come forward a little bit, there's play, and the bolt will wiggle a little bit. Not as bad as some rifles. When I'm actually cycling the bolt, I don't really notice it in this rifle. The bolt has been Cerakoted on this guy, and it's got a heavier grease on it, still from what our gunsmith put on it. I use a lighter grease, but this has got a fairly heavy grease, so it glides pretty well, and when I'm actually using it, you don't notice a lot of that chatter. But when you just stand back here and wiggle it, you do, and you can see it goes for quite a ways. Now, there is a way to fix that. If you're in bench rest circles or some of the other circles where they really are measuring group sizes down in the teens, then what they'll likely do with an action like this is they would sleeve the bolt. So they would take the bolt out and they would measure the interior of the bore of the receiver. And then they would turn down the center of the bolt and they would apply material on it, shims on it, weld them on, and then they would turn those shims down to be the exact diameter for the fit that they want inside the receiver. And that would take up all of your extra tolerances, and it would cause it to glide really nice and smoothly, assuming you went through and polished the bolt, finished it appropriately, and then used very good lubrication on it. Then it would get that hydraulic gliding feel to it. That's great if you shoot from the bench. If you start getting into field environments where there's a lot of dirt and a lot of grit, that quickly causes problems. That really tight fit will not be a tight fit, it'll be an interference fit once you start to get grit and other nastiness in there. So I tend to shy away from that. What I'm really more concerned about is lockup, how tight the bolt is once those bolt lugs have turned and locked in. So if you truly want that done to your action, you can have that done. I would just really caution you about doing it on a field rifle, and I really don't believe that it is needed for the types of competitions that I shoot, PRS style competitions, field shooting competitions, where you are shooting off of barricades, improvised supports, and only a very few of the stages are prone stages. I hope that answers your question on bolt sleeving and bolt fit. There are a couple of custom actions out there that have very tight bolt fit, and I've seen them cause all kinds of problems out on the firing line where guys can't run the bolt quick anymore. We get, some dust, some grit going, or we get some rain or snow, and now all of a sudden that bolt is sticking and causing all kinds of issues. So be careful when you tighten up the tolerances in a field rifle. That's it for this Christmas edition of Mail Call Mondays. I want to wish all you guys out there in our audience a Merry Christmas. This time of the year really causes me to sit back and take a look at what I have, and I am very, very thankful for all of you who tune in to watch our show, all of you who have given me the support throughout all of the years. I really honestly could not do this without you, nor would I really want to do this without you. So you guys make it all possible, and you guys make it all worthwhile. I love reading your comments every week. I love all the correspondence that we have and all the interactions that we have. We do have the 2018 SHOT Show coming up next month in January. So if you guys are going to be in the Vegas area for the SHOT Show, if you are wandering around and you see us out there filming or something, hey, come up, say hi. Preferably once we're actually done filming and not in the middle of a segment. But say hi, talk to us. I love interacting with you guys. So That's it for this Mail Call Mondays. If you had any questions or comments on anything we covered, leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you guys are listening to this on your favorite podcast app, you can send questions to us at 8541tactical@gmail.com. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, get out and shoot.